Okay, we're looking at PrepTest 51. This is section 1, and question 5 asked us to mimic the reasoning that we see in the stimulus. Okay, now, so we can call this we can call it parallel reasoning, we can do a lot of different things with this, but we're basically just asked to parrot back the reasoning that we see within the stimulus. Okay, so let's kind of just take a look at what we've got in the stimulus. We've got an argument. It appears to be valid in my mind. One of the things that we always want to know if things are, we'd like to know if things are valid or invalid. And the stimulus gives us kind of a cue that things are valid here because it doesn't say the flawed reasoning. Okay, so let's kind of take a look at what we've got here. We've got a landscaper that says we can put one or the other plants in a specific place. All right. Then he says, well, it cannot be the first type of plant. All right. And then he concludes that if we're going to do this job, right, if this is going to happen, it's going to be the second one. All right, so just kind of a couple of takeaways that you need to be thinking about when you read this. It's either one or two, okay? It can't be one. We don't know for sure if we're going to do it, but if we do, it's got to be two. All right, so let's go through the answer choices and see what we come up with. If you look at A, if there is to be an entrance on the north side of the building, it will have to be approached by a ramp. However, a ramp would become impossibly slippery in winter, so there will be no entrance. Okay, so the difference between A and this is it concludes that it won't happen. All right, there's only one thing there. There's not two. All right, so A falls out. B, if visitors are to travel to this part of the site by automobile, then we need parking spaces. But we don't have parking spaces in the design, therefore we're going to have to redesign this thing. Well, that's not saying you got two options, you can't do one, so if we're going to do one, we're going to do the second. That's saying we want to do something, we haven't allotted for it, so we need to redesign everything. That's not the same sort of reasoning. C, the subsoil in these 5 acres either consists of clay or shale. Therefore, if we dig a hole in the ground and it reveals shale, it's got to be everywhere. Okay, C says for sure one of these things is going to happen, right? The difference between C and the stimulus argument is that we don't know if the second thing is going to happen. We just know that we got two options. We know that one has fallen out. If we want to do it, the second one's going to happen. C is saying, look, it's either one or the other, and it's got to be one of them. All right, so that's the difference. D, any path along this embankment must be either concrete or stone, but concrete cannot be built in this location. So if there is to be a path, it must be stone. All right, and that's exactly what this reasoning is doing as well. We have two options. We know that one cannot happen. So if we're going to do it, we're going to have to use the other one. That's exactly what D does. Let's take a look at E, though. A space this size of this meadow would be suitable for a playground or a picnic area. A playground would be noisy, and a picnic area would create litter. So it would be best for it to remain the way it was. And so basically what E is doing is saying we can do one or the other, or actually even a third, we can keep it the same, which is mimicking what's going on here. But it concludes that we shouldn't do either one of them. All right? So it doesn't suggest anything other than don't do anything. That's really not what this reasoning says. It says, look, we got one or two, we can't do one, so if we do anything, it's going to have to be the second one. This reasoning concludes like don't do it at all, so that's the difference. Therefore, D is the correct answer.